999ers risk their lives every day keeping us safe.
We do this job to help people.
But all too often, they're abused and attacked.
The vehicle threw me like a rag doll. It should have killed me.
These personal attacks on police, paramedics and firefighters are at an all-time high.
I'll admit I was absolutely terrified.
We don't put on this uniform to be assaulted.
Leaving them traumatised and unable to work.
It felt like I was saying goodbye to my career.
But while the violent criminals responsible are hunted down and brought to justice,
You're under arrest. You do not have to say anything.
our protectors fight to get well and back on the job.
I was not going to give up. There was no way.
It's took a hell of a lot of hard work to get back to the place I'm just now.
Ready to face the next critical incident. Today, a criminal driver changes PC Clare Bond's life forever.
When he started reversing the car, dragging me down the fence, and it was like I was in a washing machine.
An officer tries to talk a man down from a roof, but is unexpectedly attacked.
As she walked to the doorstep of her house, she turned around and she spat straight in my face.
And a move to the coast results in anything but a quieter life for paramedic Gemma.
She was swearing at me and then she kicked me in the face.
Between 2017 and 2018, there were more than 26,000 assaults on police officers in England and Wales. That's over 26,000 families upset and traumatised by their loved ones getting hurt.
Kill Road as well.
Put the knife down!
He said, I don't want you to panic or anything. He said, but I've been stabbed.
What do you want? I've been stabbed in the arm.
I felt physically sick.
A stolen car was driving down this road at high speeds and erratically. An officer tried to use a stinger device to stop it before it crashed into the car and hit the officer. That officer is now in intensive care in the West Cumberland Hospital in Whitehaven.
John can't just scoop the kids up in the air or tie their shoelaces. Those are the things that make me angry, that has been stolen from us.
Just had a phone call from my sister. She'd been strangled, and straight away I just burst into tears on the phone. I know nobody knows what's going to happen to them, but she goes to work and her kind of job is she might not come home again.
In Bradford, PC Natalie King's mother always knew her daughter would be a police officer.
Natalie was about 5 when she decided she wanted to be a police officer. This was a photograph of Natalie's graduation. Obviously, very proud parents. Natalie stuck with it, was absolutely determined, and finally joined the police force, and she's been doing that for about 4 years now.
You never really know from one minute to the next what you're going to be dealing with. I can come in the beginning of the shift, go to a burglary. 5 minutes later, I could be at a road traffic collision. 5 minutes after that, you know, you're dealing with a pub fight. It's job after job after job. I think as a parent, you're always going to worry, and I think Natalie shields us from quite a lot of the stuff that goes on. She probably keeps a lot of things to herself, doesn't talk about them. I think sometimes you just are aware that there have been testing times.
And probably Natalie's most testing time came with an incident last year.
Some colleagues of mine had gone on arrest inquiries for a male that was wanted by police. I initially had got nothing to do with that inquiry. They went, and whilst they were at that address, the male in question had run up and climbed on the roof of a 3-storey house where he was stood refusing to come down. They put out an assistance call on the radio and I attended that call. Do you think you can find? On arrival, the male stood on top of the roof. He was throwing down roof tiles. There were a lot of members of public around. Family are in the street. shouting, screaming, carrying on, swearing at police officers. It was all just very chaotic.
Get these kids in house, otherwise it's just gonna...
My priority at that point was to bring this young man down safely off the roof, and in order to do so, I needed to get everybody back inside the address.
But one of the household members begins to resist Natalie's efforts.
She was aggressive, she was abusive, she was shouting and swearing in the street. I took action and I began to move her towards the front door of her address. As she walked to the doorstep of her house, she turned around and she spat straight in my face.
Get in the house. I don't know.
She then ran off into the house, and I was concerned at that point that she may also go climb up on the roof. As I've reached out to grab her, grabbed hold of her back, and she turned around and she clawed me across the face. She cut all my top lip, my bottom lip, and all inside my mouth.
You're under arrest for assault, all right? You don't have to say anything, but it might be defence.
On taking her to the police car, she continued to spit. She spat, I think, 5 times in total, covering my coat, other people's coats. The assault happened so quickly that it didn't actually register that she'd caused me any sort of injury. There was so much chaos going on at that time. My priority was just to get her in handcuffs and get her out of the way. She continually was spitting.
Anything you do say, maybe giving in evidence.
Your adrenaline just carries you through these incidents, and it's not until afterwards when you stop and realise actually that, yeah, I'm injured. So I had a cut to my top lip, where she'd scratched with a nail. The issue really for me was not the fact that my lip was cut, but the fact that she'd been spitting in my face. I went to see the nurse in custody to ensure that all my tetanus injections, hepatitis injections are up to date. And that's just something you always worry about, really.
I'll update the crimes to what you've told me. She'll be in touch with you. She'll come and have a look at the CCTV, and then hopefully if we can identify him off that, then we can get him in.
I think I'm in the same frame of mind as Natalie. When the incident occurred, obviously you're very upset and you're disappointed, and then reality kicks in and you know that she's going to go out and do the same thing again and probably face the same dangers, and unfortunately there's not a lot I can do about that.
The effect of an assault like that doesn't really affect you going back out again the following day. I think it's more just disappointment than anything else, really, that people react to you in that way. Ultimately, we went there to get that young man safely down off the roof. You know, I had nothing to do with the interactions before that. My aim was to get him down off that roof, and so to be treated like that by somebody who doesn't know you while you're there in a uniform, it's really, really disappointing, and it's shocking, and it just makes you a bit sad, I think, really. People would behave like that. The female that assaulted me was ultimately charged. She was found guilty in court and given a 6-month community service order, and she was ordered to pay court costs and compensation costs. Doesn't make it worthwhile, but it just makes it a little bit easier to bear when you know that actually somebody's being punished for what they've done. Ultimately, we're just trying to do a job. You don't deserve to be assaulted any more than a person out of uniform. I've got really, really good support from colleagues, and we have a good team and we look after each other, and that's what's important at the end of the day. Just makes it a little bit easier to go back out there and do the same thing again the next day.
This was PC Clare Bond 12 months ago on a family skiing holiday.
She's coming. Got disaster written all over it. Oh my God, well done. Oh.
Skiing is a huge part of our family life. It was one of the first things that I asked the consultant, do you think I'll be able to ski in February? And the answer's no.
Claire, my wife, she's an amazing woman. A very get-up-and-do person. Not one to sit around. Likes to look after others before herself. The last few months have been particularly challenging for the whole family. Completely life-changing for every single one of us. Just with no notice whatsoever. Just our whole lives have changed.
In September 2018, Claire was working a day shift with her crewmate PC Dave Mullins.
It was a Sunday morning. It was around about 11 o'clock. We got a call over the radio to say that a car had crashed into a garage by some allotments. So we blue lighted towards Stafford. We found out that the 10K Stafford run was on that day. So we're hit by some road closures. There was stewards to say that the runners were coming.
When they arrive at the scene of the crash, they're informed by a member of the public that the driver has sped off.
I've gone straight onto the radio and said the direction that it was travelling towards. We were quite concerned because of the runners, and we've done an area search. The car's come out one of the side roads and we've spotted it, so we've gone after the car. We've got the lights on, we've got the sirens on. He's travelling quite fast and he's starting to make a few hair-raising manoeuvres, really.
I've never had a pursuit where somebody he literally will not stop for anything. There's a number of times he nearly ran somebody over, multiple vehicles that he's crashed into, and then obviously I've got in my mind the whole time the thousands of people that were running up the road, and there was clearly no way he would have stopped for any of that.
And I remember saying, it's like an American movie. You know, we need to stop him.
It was getting towards the point where I was thinking I was going to have to abort it anyway. I couldn't see how I could have let it run much longer with the level of driving that he was displaying. It was just getting too dangerous.
But just before Claire and Dave decide to end the pursuit, fate intervenes.
Ultimately, it's ended up that he's had a crash himself. We've dropped him behind him so that, as far as I was concerned, he wasn't going to be able to go anywhere.
I said, well, we've got him. You know, he can't go anywhere. Now we've just got to get him out the car.
Claire's jumped out the car and gone to the driver's side. I've run round and followed her.
And my thought is I'll have the keys. So I put my hand in and I realised the keys aren't there. It's a keyless car. And I've literally gone, oh.
Meantime, he started basically going backwards and forwards, trying to smash his way out between the member of the public's car that he'd crashed into and our car that was, our marked car that was behind him.
So Dave gets his spray out and sprays him in the face. Once you've got your pepper spray, it's very, very difficult to see or do anything.
But this doesn't seem to deter the driver, as he carries on smashing between the cars, trying to get away.
If he gets through these cars, he's going to be in with all the runners. So I went back to his window. I couldn't open the door. So I leant through and I punched him. I must have punched him 3 or 4 times. I'm trying to punch him, saying, stop the car, what are you doing? All of a sudden, I just remember him turning the wheel. And next thing, he slammed me up against a fence. So I'm in between the BMW and the fence. And I remember thinking, this is not a good place to be. This is not a good place to be. What can I do? But I was stuck when he started reversing the car, dragging me down the fence. And it was like I was in a washing machine. It was, my body was just like turning. Then all of a sudden, I felt quite a hard hit. And I remember thinking my legs hurt.
I've got a perfect picture of Claire being swept up in the air. It's like almost like a photograph. I can see it perfectly.
The car flings her 5 feet and she lands on the pavement, but it's not over yet.
I kind of started to reach for my radio when I've looked up, and I remember the BMW was such a lovely blue. It was such a shiny back of the car, when all of a sudden I seen the reverse lights come on. He started to reverse towards me, and I remember thinking, oh my God, he's going to run over me. And I can't move my legs. What should I do? What position should I get in when I've shouted Dave?
I can remember the car driving off up the road. There's about 3, 4, 5 seconds in between. I've got no memory at all of that just few seconds gap.
Within a split second, I just remember him kind of picking me up.
Dave lifts Claire to safety just in time, and the driver speeds off.
She was clearly in lots and lots of pain, so there was nothing I could do. I just had to hold her, just give her a hug, essentially, and just try and comfort her.
I'd like to use the word that he was my hero that day. I don't think I could have asked for a better person to have been crewed with that day, really. He stopped me from being run over, and I'll be forever grateful. And he's got a bit of a special place in my heart, really.
In the minutes that follow, it becomes clear that Claire has sustained extremely serious injuries.
My legs are, specifically my left leg was pointing the wrong way. I remember looking down, and the feeling as well, the feeling of my foot felt like jelly inside my boot. And I was thinking, I don't think I want to look. I know they're not good.
It's certainly the worst injury that I've seen a colleague sustain that I've ever been working with.
An ambulance arrives, and the paramedics are worried.
It wasn't in a good position. And I know that they've had a conversation with another colleague of mine saying that when they've looked down, they seriously thought I might lose my foot.
Meanwhile, Claire's husband Darren is watching their son play a football match 30 miles away.
I received a phone call from Claire's phone, which is not out of the ordinary. She would either text or phone to say, how the kid's getting on. So I took the call, and it was a voice I didn't recognise initially. And he said that, straight from the office, is, Daz, I don't want to worry you too much, but Claire's been in an accident, and we'd like to get you to the hospital as quick as you can. Just everything went to like a bit of a blur, to be honest. One minute I'm watching my son play football, the next minute I'm being told that my wife's potentially fighting for her life.
Later, Claire's colleagues stop at nothing to track down the criminal driver.
That was a relief to hear, that we hadn't gone through all that for nothing and that they'd managed to get away. So, yeah, that was nice to hear.
But Claire's injuries are life-changing.
Just horrendous. Someone that you love so much and expect to come home at the end of the shift, just lying there.
This unbelievable dashcam footage shows the danger some criminals will put the public and the police in to escape arrest. In Birmingham, police pull over this driver suspecting the car is stolen. A man gets out of the passenger seat and the officer goes to talk to him. But he's just a decoy and deliberately stands in front of the police car while his mate speeds off. The police car manages to catch up with the runaway driver, whose reckless driving is breathtaking. They hit speeds of up to 80 miles per hour, weaving in and out of traffic, driving through traffic lights and on the wrong side of the road, all in wet and slippery conditions. The police car keeps up, but is forced to slow down several times because of the danger posed to the public. After a terrifying 2 minutes, the driver eventually loses control of the car, giving the police opportunity to arrest him. The driver was charged with dangerous driving and sentenced to 14 months in prison. Still to come, PC Clare Bond makes big progress with small steps.
We've pulled through as a family, haven't we?
And from abusive 999 callers,
what's your name, please? Don't go about my name. By the time you did your job.
to patients unexpectedly lashing out.
I have moved on, and I've tried to use it as an empowering tool in making sure that this sort of thing never happens again.
As well as physical attacks on ambulance crews, abuse can take many other forms. Ambulance services dealt with over 31,000 hoax calls in a recent 3-year period. Every hoax call puts lives at risk as resources are diverted from serious emergencies.
Ambulance service, is the patient ringing? Yeah, I am. And I'm sick of ringing. Do you know what? My family is sick of me ringing. I know it's all recorded.
This person called 999 over 1,800 times.
Okay, so... I mean, no. It's about you sort my wrist out. So, yeah, by the time you did your job... Right, so what's happened to you? I fell on ice. Is there any serious bleeding? No. And what's your name, please? Don't care about my name.
The caller was charged with making use of a public communications network to cause annoyance.
From the information that you've given me, we're not going to send you an ambulance.
The caller pleaded guilty and was sent to prison for 6 months. Back in Staffordshire, PC Clare Bond is in hospital after a car chase ended with her being crushed between a criminal's car and a fence.
My legs are, specifically my left leg was pointing the wrong way.
When her husband arrived at the hospital, he was shocked by the chain of events and Clare's condition.
Just horrendous. You know, it's not someone that you love so much and expect to come home at the end of a shift just lying there with her left leg in some sort of brace, and her right leg had a massive bandage on, which was, you could see it had clearly been bleeding, and half her clothes had been cut off.
But there was some good news. Shortly after the incident, other officers tracked down the driver and arrested him.
The relief that I felt was quite overwhelming. It was, it kind of felt as though it had all been worth it. We'd got a positive outcome as such.
That was a relief to hear, that we hadn't gone through all that for nothing and that they'd managed to get away. So, yeah, that was nice to hear.
The offender pleaded guilty to grievous bodily harm with intent to resist arrest. He also pleaded guilty to dangerous driving, driving whilst disqualified, driving without insurance and failing to stop. He is currently awaiting sentencing.
I have to give my thanks to everybody who took part in that day, because the outcome was brilliant.
Clare's left leg and right knee were both severely injured, and she needed 2 operations.
So I had an external brace on my left leg, and they'd put a screw in my right knee where there was a fracture, and they'd sewed up my knee with about 11 or 12 stitches.
Yeah, I went to see Claire in the hospital after she'd had her first operation, and they'd put her leg into like a metal cage that they'd drill in just to stabilise the leg, really, and that looked horrific.
It was not until I come home later on that evening that I told the kids that Mum had been injured in an accident. I didn't want to tell them too much to make them worry. I want to keep their lives as normal as possible, because I didn't want them to feel that, you know, things were going to change. But things did change.
Claire was in hospital for 9 days before going home in a wheelchair.
You know, it was a tough initial few days, which, you know, we've had some dark times. I can't deny that. It's been quite a rough road for all of us. That ripple effect, it's affected the whole of our family and our friends and Claire's colleagues. It's been a big thing for everybody.
Throughout my stubbornness of going, this isn't going to change our life, or we'll try and keep this as we normally do it, day to day, try and keep it as normal as possible. There's been things that I have no control over.
All those things we all take for granted, she couldn't do any of those at all herself. Just take your time. Just moving around the house. We didn't initially have a handrail on the stairs, so I had to build one of those for the future when she decided that she was able to get up the stairs in weeks and months to come. She had to sleep on the sofa bed downstairs for weeks, which wasn't ideal. Luckily we had a downstairs bathroom that she could utilise, but even then she had to use a frame to get on and off the toilet. It's quite difficult doing that to a fit woman, you know, whose days before was able-bodied, and now, you know, I literally had to look after her like, you know, she was completely paralysed.
Darren, who is also a police officer, has had to make huge sacrifices to look after Claire.
How's that feel?
And towards you.
I've stopped going to work because there's no way that I could go to work full-time and be a parent and a carer. It was just going to be too much. So my work gave me some time off initially to facilitate that, which was fantastic. Relax. My force were very supportive, all my colleagues. Relax. Because, you know, it's not just a family, it's a police family. You hurt one of us, you hurt all of us.
Claire and Darren's kids have also been affected and are opening up for the first time about the impact it's had on them.
You broke my heart when that man ran you over, because I was actually quite sad about that and upset.
You know, it's really taken a toll on our emotions. It's like, you know, some of us are a bit angry from what's happened, and, you know, it can really change a person's life. One traumatic event can change everything. I couldn't cope with it really, but as soon as I knew you were getting better and you could get better, and that's what's happened really.
I love you both very much, and I'm so glad that you've been able to speak to me about this, because I think
first time we've actually
the first time that we've actually spoken about it, and I realise how you feel.
Later, Claire's determined to get back on her feet.
She's a golden patient. She'll do what she needs to do. She knows she needs to get better by doing certain things and using our advice. But I think her drive is going to play a massive part.
As a teenager working in healthcare, Gemma Fitzgerald discovered her perfect career.
I loved medicine, but I didn't want to be a nurse and stuck in a hospital. And Paramedic allowed me to do all that, help people, care for people, make them feel better, but also have something different every day. It was a calling. This is what I was meant to do. I joined London Ambulance Service, and I worked for them for about 10 years. Wanted to get out of the city and move somewhere closer to the sea, so I moved and joined South East Coast Ambulance Service, where I was a paramedic here, and now I've been an operational team leader here for the last year.
Gemma was quick to impress her colleagues when she joined her new team.
Gemma is a very kind and caring person. She's quite a bubbly personality.
With the uniform comes a responsibility for caring for others, and she takes a pride in what she does.
But soon after she moved from London to the coast, the more peaceful life Gemma had hoped for didn't go according to plan.
So the assault actually took place right here on this corner. And it's funny that even though it was like 5 years ago, sometimes, well, every time I drive past, I think about it. It doesn't always affect me, but I always think about it, and I'm not sure I won't ever think about it driving past there. You put on your uniform and you get your call and you go, and you never really know what's going to happen until you get there.
In November 2013, Gemma was coming to the end of a long shift when she got a call from another ambulance crew requesting paramedic assistance.
When we got there, they sort of informed me that they had a patient who had fallen over and hit her head. She was quite aggressive, and they weren't sure if it was because she'd hit her head or whether because she was intoxicated, and they just wanted my help in assessing the patient and her injuries. Straight off the back, she was quite verbally aggressive, shouting at us. I explained to her I just wanted to help her, and maybe we could get her off the road and out of the cold and into a nice warm ambulance and let me assess her. At this point, she got quite nasty and started calling us names and swearing at us. So we decided to back off because we didn't feel like we were safe. And we called the police.
Meanwhile, the patient's friend arrived and tried to reason with her, but she ended up being attacked by the woman.
So we went to help her and we got her out of the way. And at this point, she started to try and harm herself. So we were just very gently restraining her so that she couldn't harm herself. And unfortunately, she got free of the restraint and she was looking at me directly and swearing at me. And then she kicked me in the face and knocked me off of my feet, so I fell back into the road. My colleague, Mark, he got punched in the chest. And then when the police arrived, she still was aiming this verbal assault at me, names and swearing at me, and then started spitting at me, even while she was being arrested by the police. I don't think I felt anything straight away afterwards just because of that adrenaline rush. It's that sort of fight or flight feeling, as I had to get back on with my job and make sure that everyone was okay, patient included. And then it's not till the sort of police arrive and take that responsibility away from you that then you start to think about you, and then the adrenaline wears off and you start to feel the pain of what had actually happened.
Gemma was rushed to the local A&E department for assessment and x-rays.
They diagnosed that I'd broken my jaw, so they had to send me to see a specialist. So that evening, I got transferred to Brighton Hospital. They thought that I might need to have surgery. You think, well, what is it? What will they do? Will I have a scar? Will I have to have a brace on my face? I didn't know what it entailed, and that's scary. Luckily, I didn't have to have surgery. I saw the doctor that evening, and he was happy for it to be managed without surgery. It was soft diet for about 2 months. Mashed potato, overcooked rice, jelly, ice cream was a highlight. But, you know, I couldn't even have my Christmas dinner that year.
Gemma then needed weekly appointments to keep an eye on her injuries. Her colleagues were devastated by what had happened.
It's not that common to get an assault of that nature. The assaults aren't uncommon in the ambulance service, but to get one where somebody's actually damaged their jaw and sustains a fracture or a partial fracture is a severe attack, and it was really, really upsetting to all of us, and obviously really upsetting to Gemma.
The attacker was convicted of actual bodily harm against Gemma and common assault against her colleague and the officer who attended the scene. She was given a 16-week suspended sentence, 100 hours community service, and ordered to pay Gemma £100 compensation.
I think if you attack someone for no reason and break a bone in their body intentionally, that should equal a custodial sentence. I didn't do anything wrong. I just came and I did my job and I treated her with respect, and that some people out there are just like that.
While Gemma's injuries healed, she couldn't help reflecting on the incident.
It did really knock me for six. One, I was in a lot of pain, and then, you know, just that why aspect, and it sits in your head, and it did really upset me for quite some time.
It really affects the team morale, because if you think that your colleague's been out and been assaulted as part of their daily duties, it puts fear in them as individuals. So their utmost concern was for Gemma that she'd been injured, but they worry that it may happen to them when they go out as well.
After almost 2 months off work, with the help and support of loved ones and colleagues, Gemma returned to full duties.
We are one big family, and it sounds really cheesy. I know it sounds really cheesy, but we're one big family in Green, and we try and look out for each other and as best we possibly can. And it made me feel like, okay, they care, and so coming back to work, you know, won't be as hard because I know that they're there. So I can support you and feel confident. I don't think I'll ever forget about what happened, but I have moved on, and I've tried to use it as an empowering tool in making sure that this sort of thing never happens again, and to help my staff and my team if anything should happen to them. I know how to talk to them about it and who can help them and what steps we need to take.
It has motivated her. I think the thought that someone's done that to me and caused me that much damage and that much harm, I think there's an element with Gemma that she wouldn't want that to get on top of her and stop her from doing the vocation that she's always wanted to do.
Despite all that's happened, Gemma has no regrets about moving from life in the fast lane to the coast.
I still don't get sick of that. When you come down here, like when you're finishing your night shift and the sun's coming up, it's amazing. I love it. I do look forward to coming to work because I do get to make that difference. It just makes me feel happy.
It's been 4 months since the incident that changed Clare Bond's life forever. As part of her recovery, Clare is revisiting the scene.
So this is where it's happened, on that Sunday. I've trained in what's called FLO, Family Liaison Officer, that attends to families who have lost somebody in road traffic collisions, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I lost my dad when I was 20 in a road traffic collision, so that's quite important to me. With me going back there, it's normally the thing that I would say to people if I was helping a family that had lost somebody in a road traffic collision, and that's how it felt to me, is that I was saying, do you want to go back to where it happened? This is the fence that he's pinned me up against, and he's reversed down this pathway and has literally dragged me back along here, all the way to the bottom where the car has flipped me out. I did get a bit upset because I felt as though that's what somebody would be saying to Darren if something worse had happened on that day. If he'd reversed over me and I died, that somebody would be saying to Darren, do you want to come see where we lost Claire? And that was quite harsh. Coming back here, I think looking at that fence, it turned something in my stomach that I could have I could have lost my foot here. I could have been killed here. And this quiet little street that has no personal meaning to me now does, and probably will forever.
But Claire won't be defeated, and she's working hard to get back on her feet.
So when she first came in, she was in the wheelchair, struggling with walking on crutches. She had a boot on her ankle, as well as the knee brace, which is slowly starting to come out, and then obviously the operation on her right leg. So between October and now, how far she's come has been sensational, really. She's a golden patient. She'll do what she needs to do. She won't rest on her laurels. She knows that she needs to work. She knows she needs to get better by doing certain things and using our advice. But I think her drive is going to play a massive part.
Although there's still a long road ahead for Claire,
this leg down first.
There's one thing keeping her going.
Bring it down, bring it down.
It's a plain old simple love, really. I think the way people feel about me.
I don't think Claire would be in the position she is in now if we hadn't had all the support from family, friends and work colleagues who, really have stepped up to the mark and pulled out all the stops for us.
I've certainly got a friendship now with her that I perhaps wouldn't have had, that I'm now glad I have, because she's just a lovely person.
I could not have done this. I could not have done this without Darren. We've been married 15 years in May, and he means the absolute world to me. So it's a massive thank you to him.
I'd like Claire to know that I love her. The fact that I almost lost her, or could have lost her, has made me feel that, she's very precious to me. We are a close family unit, and I don't know what would happen if that was taken away from us.
It's been a bit of a step in our lives. It's affected us in a way, but it's really, really tough that you've come all this way.
Oh, bless you.
I think it'd be very, very lonely here without you. So I'm glad that you're here.
That's nice of you to say that.
We pulled through as a family, haven't we?
I just want to concentrate on me getting better, and then I could go back to being normal Claire, bossy Claire, back at work, organising everything.
The way she's going, it's looking positive, and the only way's up. You can do it.